Welcome to the party, pal. You're for the neighborhood Master Chaos. Back with you once again for part 5, or I should say disc 5, in the dumpster fire of Andy Milligan. Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. The Dungeon of Andy Milligan. Silly me, I got that mistaken. It's the Dungeon. It's the Dungeon of Andy Milligan. Disc 5. What do we have in store for us today? Well, we've got a pair of movies instead of the same movie with different cuts. We have The Man with Two Heads, which is a very strange title for the plot. I'll get into that in a minute. And Guru the Mad Monk. This is one of his more well-known movies. I remember I had this on DVD back in the day. So I still have it, actually. Something Weird Video put it out. Guru the Mad Monk, A Man with Two Heads. Now, I've seen Guru before. This is my first time seeing The Man with Two Heads. So I'm going to leave this one for the second half of our double feature. See? Two's in the title. I thought that was kind of clever. I have to make myself happy. You understand?
You're really crazy.
Guru the Mad Monk. Let's start there. By the way, he's not a monk. He's not a monk. I repeat. He's not a monk. He's a priest.
What? No.
It's Guru the Mad Priest. Technically, well, I guess he is mad. Oh, let's get into the plot. Actually, before I get into the plot, let's talk about this packaging real quick. Now, I am just leafing through it for the first time, watching these films. Do you see the binding on that? I don't know if it reads on the camera very well. Let me see if I can put that in there, that binding. That's very, very flimsy. I can't even open this all the way without fear of it kind of cracking. Now, a lot of these cracks in there they're made for design, but I predict that this is the kind of box set that will not last. This will not stand the test of time on your shelf. If you just watch it real quick, one way through, hey, I watched all the movies, I never need to see anything Andy Milligan again, then it'll last. You'll be fine, you can see it, no problem. But, I love saying but, this is something that will not stand the test of time when it comes to rewatchability. If you watch this a lot, I can 100% guarantee that all this stuff is going to start breaking down. All the binding here, look, I'm just looking at it, it looks so flimsy. This is pretty bad binding. I'm predicting that in a year's time, maybe less, we're going to hear about people complaining about their Dungeon of Andy Milligan box set falling apart. I have a feeling that's going to happen. Alright, speaking of falling apart, let's talk about Guru the Mad Monk. Now, this is a very special movie. Guru the Mad Monk is Andy's first 35mm movie. Shot with sync sound, which apparently was an issue in post. It was a big headache for him because he didn't know how to do that. So, yeah, I can speak from experience. That's very difficult. If you get that wrong, you're pretty much fucked if you don't have the money to get it right. But, yes, Guru the Mad Monk definitely looks better than his 16 films, but not remarkably better. It's not a gorgeous-looking movie. I can't imagine this on 4K or anything. It still looks pretty dang rough. But what is the movie about? Well, it's 56 minutes long, so already it gets a star just because it doesn't wear out its welcome. The plot is quite simple. Quite lame, honestly, but it's not a bad movie. In the sliding scale of Andy Milligania. The film involves a young man who, by the way, is played by the worst actor of all time. He looks like he's sleepwalking through the whole movie. He probably got acting lessons, or he gave acting lessons to the lead in Scanners. If you know what I mean, you'll get my reference. The guy in Scanners looks like he's dead. Here in blood-shrieking Sado color, okay, we have a film starring Neil Flanagan as Guru the Mad Monk. Now, sadly, Neil passed away, I believe, in the mid-'80s. He was a victim of the AIDS epidemic, unfortunately. However, he shines in this movie. If he wasn't in this movie, well, first of all, there wouldn't be a Guru the Mad Monk, but second of all, Guru the Mad Monk is the probably standout performance of the Milligan films. This, and actually The Man with Two Heads, both of these movies, I'm glad that they're on the same disc because they bring forth some of the best horror performances in Milligan cinema. Guru the Mad Monk is about a young man, again, a sleepwalking young man, who finds that his ex-girlfriend or something, she's been thrown into prison. He works at the prison, so he goes to the priest and he says, the priest, I'm saying priest, not monk, hey, could you protect her? Could you maybe, get her off? Maybe, have her sentence reduced? Whatever. Can you save her life? To which Guru says, bitch, are you for real? But he agrees to help the young man, and he kills the girl. He drugs her, and it looks like she passed away, and then he sequesters her in the church where she's going to be safe. Now, I thought he was going to sexually assault the girl, but she's pretty much forgotten about at this point. However, he uses the young man as his slave to collect bodies. He's part of the executioner team at the prison, and it turns out that Guru has a friend. Her name is Olga, and this old lady, by the way, I think it might be Judith Israel, I might be mistaken, but the actress who plays Olga was Neil Flanagan's actual wife. She's a vampire, and how is she a vampire? Well, in true Milligan fashion, it is the dumbest thing you could ever imagine. Instead of fangs, whenever she turns into a vampire, she gets buck teeth. Buck teeth. We'll let it go. Andy, I'm going to let you have this one.
I can talk to you, and you just look up at me with that stupid smile of yours. I can say anything to you, you ignorant bastard, and you just smile.
And in case you were wondering, yes, Andy Milligan quadruples down. We get another goddamn hunchback. As a matter of fact, we get the ultimate hunchback. He's missing an eye. He's got an actual giant hump. And his name is Igor. Oh, yeah. Igor the Hunchback. Jesus, what is his fascination with goddamn hunchbacks? It's one of those movies where a lot happens, but nothing really happens. Somehow Milligan can pull that off. Nobody else can do that. Nobody else can make a movie where nothing happens, but a lot happens. It's quite strange. But it makes for interesting rewatching. And I did rewatch this movie with the commentary, which I'll talk about special features in a minute. So Guru the Mad Monk, 56-minute movie about a guy who is indebted to this weird priest who wants him to collect dead bodies, and in exchange he'll keep his girlfriend safe and locked up in the church. Now the guy wants to leave, and the Guru's like, no, you can't leave, you can't have her, she's mine, but you have to do this work for me. That's essentially the movie. And then the guy decides to not do it, and then that's the end of the movie. That's it. That's really it. I mean, I'm being reductive, but I feel this movie deserves to be, all of these movies, for me to not burden you with the lack of plot, but also the overabundance of nothingness.
There's nothing here!
That's essentially Guru the Mad Monk. It's kind of a mess, but it's not a bad movie. It's fairly enjoyable. There's some gore in it. That always helps. Now, sure, the gore is cheap-looking and awful, and it involves plastic hands and hard-boiled eggs for eyes. And the whole movie has a cheap look and feel. That's not necessarily a negative when it comes to Andy Milligan films. Guru the Mad Monk stands out as definitely one of his better films. The writing is a lot stronger here. The performances are a lot stronger, except for that main dude. Beyond the obviously amateurish touches like the buck teeth and the hard-boiled egg eyes, it's not a bad movie. It's going to get 2 stars from your old pal, Master Chaos. Okay, the second half of our double bill today, The Man with Two Heads. First of all, he doesn't have 2 heads.
What? No.
You know what this is? This is a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde story. This is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. As a matter of fact, the main character's name is Dr. Jekyll. Why did they call it Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde? I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's got The Man with Two Heads. Fine. Andy, I'm going to let you have that one as well. But is this movie horror or horrible?
Bit of both.
That's kind of where I land with this movie. It's a little bit of both. It's technically a horror movie, but it doesn't really become a horror movie until, maybe 50 minutes into this thing. And it's not that long. What is it? 89 minutes. It's an 89-minute movie. So it's they're not long films, but it doesn't really technically become a horror movie till about 50 minutes in. the first 30 minutes is essentially a typical Milligan movie, which shocks the shit out of me that this is the way I describe a Milligan movie. A period drama with gothic elements a la Dark Shadows. Now, I forget if it was Kat or Sam in Sam Deegan and Kat Ellinger in one of the recent podcasts. They mentioned that Milligan is very much Dark Shadows-esque type filmmaker, and that's 100% right. If you've seen Dark Shadows, then you get the vibe of a Milligan movie. Here we get a traditional Victorian story of Dr. Jekyll and his experiments that lead to Mr. Hyde. Of course, we get it in the Andy Milligan style, which means while it's close to a Hammer movie, it still looks cheap and rough and ugly. I mean, there's no way to clean these movies up to make them look nice. As a matter of fact, there's a couple shots in the movie where there's an obvious hair in the lens, and you see it. I guess when they were restoring these movies, they couldn't get rid of that. If you're giving us the ultimate versions of these movies, why do the prints look like shit? Maybe that's all that was available. That could be true as well. Oh, we just can't pull that hair off of that image. But then I see other movies, older movies, looking fucking teen. I'm guessing it's a negative issue. It might be a negative issue. Sometimes they're just working off of what they have. I get it. It sucks. But when it comes to these movies, I guess it's better to have something than nothing. The Man with Two Heads, starring Dennis, let me get his name right, Dennis DeMarn, who is, in my opinion, the best actor in a Milligan movie. He plays our Dr. Jekyll, and he is fantastic. This is, I think, his last British film. He's fantastic in this. He is the best actor. Notice he never came back to appear in another Milligan movie, and in the Stephen Thrower book Venom that accompanies his set, Mr. Thrower posits that the cast saw how shabby the conditions were, and they decided to not return for any future Milligan productions, which I can't blame them. I can't blame them. But honestly, Dennis DeMarn makes the picture. Without him, there really is no movie. And while it's not a great movie, it's a good movie on an Andy Milligan scale. On a regular scale, I'd say it's an okay movie. It's a shabby-looking movie, but it's okay. 2 stars for The Man with Two Heads. Let's take a look at the special features.
Oh, goody.
Only one of the special features here is film-specific, and that is the Keith Crocker commentary for Guru the Mad Monk. Now, he works for the website cinephere.com. Keith Crocker's a filmmaker. He made a film called Stalag 69. I haven't seen it, but I love the title. Anyway, he's a big Andy Milligan guy. He did a commentary for The Ghastly Ones. He's one of the 4 commentaries on that disc. Here he returns to talk about not so much Guru the Mad Monk, but about the location, and it was shot in Staten Island, I believe, so he's from Staten Island. So it's one of those super fan who lives in the area talking about the making of the movie. Lots and lots of info there. It is jam-packed for 56 minutes. The guy does not stop talking, so I think we would get along. Very, very informative and really fun. A really fun commentary, and I love his really heavy New York accent. It really makes for some fun watching. He sounds like he could have been an extra in a Milligan movie, or even the lead. Keith, if you're watching, you probably could have been. I know he agrees with me about the actor and Guru. You could have taken over, man. I think you would have been done a better job. Commentary is really good. It runs about 56 minutes, which is the length of the movie. Highly recommended if you want to know more about Milligan and Guru specifically. Also on the disc is not a commentary track, but you get let me get this right. It's called Remembering Andy Milligan. Now this is interesting. It's an interview with set photographer Tom Voza. Now Tom worked with Milligan on movies that are not on this set. Now, I'm not sure why they're not on this set, but Milligan went to Los Angeles in the 80s. He made 3 movies there, I believe. And Tom worked with him on Monstrosity, which looks completely awful, and Weirdo, which I haven't seen any stills of, but Monstrosity looks like a definite hard watch. He was a set photographer, and he has surprising recall when it comes to working with Milligan. Maybe the guy definitely left an impression with him. I worked with Doris Wishman, and I have quite a few tales to tell. One day I will. One day I will tell them. Stay tuned for 2022. That's all I'm going to say. Tom Voza here provides a very interesting perspective when it comes to Andy Milligan. There's, blanking on the name. Well, I'll just flip through it. Let me see. What is that guy? Hal Borsky. Hal Borsky is, of course, an actor. He worked with Milligan on a whole bunch of films, and so there's his recollections. On the same disc, we get an interview with Natalie Rogers from Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me. She talks about Milligan as well. But they all talk in glowing terms. Tom, the set photographer, is the one guy who tells it like it is. Yeah, he was kind of pissy. He was angry all the time. He was very manic. He was anxiety-ridden, very high-strung kind of guy. And that's 100% what I picture when I think of Andy Milligan. That's exactly what I picture. Which is weird to me, in contrast, when you see his movies that are very, stale, costume dramas about family trouble. That is that's almost like a Merchant and Ivory movie, with some cruelness, obviously, than the anxiety-ridden, high-strung dude that Andy Milligan apparently was. Very interesting filmmaker. So those are the special features you have here. You also have trailers from both movies and a alternate version of the party sequence in Man with Two Heads. This is the orgy. It's 2 minutes. I couldn't even tell really a difference. There's no real nudity. I think there's a little bit of gore added on. It's pointless. You don't really have to watch it. It doesn't add anything. But if you want to watch it, watch it. But it's sort of a 2-minute re-edit of the sequence with some gore and maybe a little bit maybe some other butt, but it's not lady butt as far as there might be a little lady butt in there, but I think there's man ass and there's no boobs in this whole thing, which is very strange to me because you're making exploitation movies. Why wouldn't you put some meats in there? Lady meats. Everybody likes lady meats. And that's it for disc 4. Guru the Mad Monk, the Man with Two Heads. I'm done. Not a bad disc. Probably my favorite disc in a while. I really enjoyed this. Actually, no. I guess my favorite disc would be Body Beneath and Nightbirds. And Ghastly Ones I really enjoyed overall. But that's only one movie. But so far, it's my second favorite double feature. Really enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed this review of the Dungeon of Andy Milligan. See, I got it right this time. My friend, I love you very much. I appreciate you being here. It really does mean the world to me. You have no idea how much joy I derive from your company. So thank you for being here. Thank you. You mean the world to me. Okay, pal. Let's call it a day. I'll see you next time. I hope you'll stick around if you're new here. Would love for you to subscribe. It would mean the world to me. It really would. And before you head out the door, drop me a thumbs up. It does help the channel. It helps me. And it brightens up my day. Okay, pal. That's it. I love you. Take care of yourself. Remember, I love you. I love you just the way you are. And I'll see you tomorrow. I'll be here. I hope you will be as well. Until then, I remain to be continued.